Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the Computer Vision Mobile Apps Premium course. Here we will learn how to build computer vision apps from scratch. We will first go through the basics of image processing and then move on to create 7 apps with real-world applications. These will include object detection, augmented reality, QR reader, face detection, color detection, and more. And the best part is that we will write the code once and deploy it both on Android and on iOS. That's right, whether it's Samsung or an iPhone or even an iPad, we got you covered. And don't worry, if you are a beginner, this course is for you. We will go through step by step for learning the basics and pick up the pace when it comes to the projects. So we don't waste any time and you can get started with your own projects. We will use the very famous Unity platform along with the OpenCV C# wrapper. Both of these are paid but come with a free version too. So you can learn without extra cost, and when you are ready to deploy your app, you can pay the one-time fee of the OpenCV wrapper. This video is part of the course. For the complete course, check out the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. So for installations, we are going to head on to unity.com, and here we are going to start by pressing the Get Started button. Right away we can see that we have the plans and the pricings, and here we have all the pro versions. So all of these are paid, and if we go to individual, you will see that you have personal and student as well. So by the looks of it, it says that you are eligible for the personal version if you are earning less than 100K in the last 12 months. So if you want to get started, this is a good way to go. But you have to keep in mind that if you use personal, it will show the Unity logo in the very beginning of the app, and then later on it will not have any watermark. But with Pro version or the Plus version, that Unity logo goes away. And to be honest, this $400 per year is not a very heavy price when it comes to app development, so you could easily pay this off with just one project. So going back to our individual, we will start off with the free one, so we will click on Get Started. And here we are going to click on Returning Users, because we don't want to add anything extra. We don't want to download anything extra. So we will click on that, and here we will accept their terms. Again, you have to read these, that you do not make more than 100K, you have not raised more than 100K, and you are not currently using Plus or Pro versions. So then you are going to download the hub. So the hub will allow you to install different versions. So we are going to look at how we can do that too. So if you are using Mac, you can click on this, and if you are on Mac, it will automatically show you the Mac version, so you can download that. So we can click on this and it will start our hub, Unity hub download. So I'm going to open this up, and here we are going to agree. You can install it in C or D, whatever you want. And right now it's already running, so it's asking me to close it. And there we have it. So we can click on Finish, and it should open up our Unity Hub. So once it opens up, you will see something like this. You will have the projects, you will have an area to learn where you will have projects and tutorials. These are quite helpful. And then you have your community, and at the end you have the installs. So here you can manage which versions have you installed. So as you can see, I have installed the Android support and the WebGL support as well. So to install, what you have to do is you have to add, and here you will be given a few options. Which one do you want to install? So these are the latest versions, and this one is the LTS, which stands for long-term support. What this means is that they will keep updating this version, they will focus more on this version, and they will keep fixing the bugs of this version for a specific time period. So what is that time period? We can click on long-term support and let's see. So here we have the stable foundation projects, this and that. We committed releases, bi-weekly updates. So they will do bi-weekly until 2021. And after that, they will do it monthly until May 2022. So that is pretty good. And as you can see, 2018 LTS will reach the end by spring 2021. So I don't recommend you download this. So either you should go with the LTS of 2019, or you can go with the latest version, which is the 2021. So I used 2019 for a while and I didn't have any major issues. Then I shifted to 2020 and I still didn't have any major issues. So I have the 2020 version. So if you want to be on the safe side, you can download 2019 as well. If you want to get those latest features, then you can go with 2020. And you can install both of them if you have the space. So the way you do it, you select your version, you go to next. And here, if you have not installed Visual Studio before, you need to install that. So this is the IDE in which we will be writing the code. So whenever we open the file to write the code, we will open Visual Studio. And we can open it directly by clicking on the file within our Unity, and it will automatically open the Visual Studio for us. If you prefer another IDE, you can do that as well, but I highly recommend that you stick with Visual Studio. And then you have the option of the platforms. So here we have to select Android at least if you are on Windows, and you have to select at least iOS if you are on Mac. If you are on Mac, you can select both iOS and Android, because you can deploy both on Android and iOS using Mac, but you cannot do it, you cannot deploy on iOS using Windows. So right now I am on Windows, so I will not select iOS because that will be wastage. And then you have the documentation, which is always good to have. If you want different languages, you can install that too. So you have other versions, other platforms as well that you can install, but we are going to skip that because we are interested in app development. So you will click on next and you will accept the terms of Visual Studio, and then you will start the installation process. So I'm not going to do that because I already have a version installed with Android build support. So I will just go to projects, and here we can create our new project. Now, before we actually start creating our app, we need to understand the basics of app development. So specifically when it comes to design. Now, the thing is that I see a lot of newcomers, when they are creating prototypes, they don't really focus on the design. Now, it is true that you need to focus on the functionality, but you have to give a little bit of time to the design as well. Because when you show someone a demo, they need to visualize it. They need to be able to understand the concept as well as the kind of output they should be expecting. So it is very crucial that you do not show bad designs. So what is the solution? Now, if you're like me, I'm not a designer and I don't have that design gene or that artistic gene that helps you make very great artwork or design, something like that. So what can people like us do? Well, the simple answer is that we can create simple designs that will be useful in prototyping, but when it comes to the real app, we can actually go to actual designers to build the design for us. So over the years, I have learned some basic techniques about design, and I will be sharing with you how you can implement those to quickly get a prototype out and running. So first of all, you need three things. The first one is the inspiration. So you want to get the concept and you want to follow an idea of a design that you have seen. Then second thing is your color scheme. You want to focus on what kind of colors that you want to use. And then the third thing is the alignment. We will focus on these three things, and I will show you in detail how you can approach these problems. So first of all, we are going to go to Dribbble. By the way, this is my website, and this is the design that I did myself. It is not the best design and it is not the worst. So it works for me. And the same way you can design your website or your app yourself. And if you need, you can go to a professional designer as well. So first of all, we are going to go to Dribbble. Now Dribbble is basically a website where you can go for inspiration. So there's a lot of designers that put up their designs, and you can see what kind of designs are trending, what is it that is effective, and what is it that you should avoid. So what you can do is you can go here and you can click on mobile, and you can see these app designs that are very futuristic, very amazing, and things like this. For me, I cannot imagine these things. So for me, getting inspiration from this is very useful because I don't have that particular gene to get these designs up and running. And a lot of these designs, they have something very common, that is simplicity. So nowadays you will see the fonts are getting bigger, the shapes are getting simpler. If you remember, there was this media player in our time, it was called Winamp. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so this was that media player. You can see this is this was the actual design of that media player, and it was just so bad. And at that time it was cool, you know, it has a lot of buttons and whatnot, but nowadays this is just really bad. So you would not see something like this nowadays. Instead, what you see is something like a VLC player. So you can see that it is very minimalistic. It's not the best design either, but it is very minimalistic. So you might want to focus on that as well. So a lot of these designs, you will see that they're very simple. Like for example, this one, you have a plain white background, and then you have these blue accents, and then all of the buttons and the placement is very evenly done. So it looks very visually appealing. So this is the first step for inspiration. You will go to Dribbble to check what other people have done, and you might get an inspiration from that. For example, right now I'm looking at these different designs, and I can see that the home page at least is very simple. You have one color, and then you have some text, and you have a button. So you can get inspiration like this from these designs. So most of them, if you look at the main screen, it is very simple. For example, here you can see the middle one, it's just a plain color, and then you have the heading and maybe a subheading, and maybe we can add a button here as well. So this is how you get a little bit of inspiration. And then the second step is the color. So for color, you have to pick the right colors. So you will have a primary color, and then you have a secondary color. So you can search for these palettes going to colorhunt.co. So this is a website where a lot of different designers, they have put these color palettes that you can use. Now I do recommend that you use only two colors. So black, gray, and white, these are generic colors that you can pretty much use anywhere. But I'm talking about primary and secondary colors. So you might want to choose something like blue or orange or yellow. So for my brand, you can see that I have orange color for my logo. So if we go to my courses, let's say, you can see that this is my brand. So you have the orange color, and then you have a little bit of blue. So we can pick the same accents in our design, in our app design, because we want it to look more towards the company app. So if we go to the color wheel, you can Google color wheel, and you will find these color wheels which will tell you how to pick your primary and your secondary color. So for example, for me, my main color is orange. So this is my main color. So I know that I should design something similar to orange. So I can go to the color wheel and I can pick the orange color. So this is my primary color, for example, and then the secondary will be blue. So same way, if you have yellow, you can pick the secondary color as purple, and vice versa. If you have red, then you can pick green. So you can find all these different color wheels, and they will help you out in picking the colors. So in my case, you can already see that we have the orange color and the secondary was blue. So this is orange, then you have secondary as blue. So you can see that it's already embedded here. So you have orange and blue. So this way the colors, they actually complement each other and they really pop out and give you some good results. So we are going to use these colors for our app design. So our primary color will be orange and our secondary color will be blue. So it can be light blue, it can be dark blue, but main idea is that we are going to stick with blue and orange. So the last thing I want to share with you is the alignment. So a lot of the times beginners, they don't look at alignment properly. For example, I was working on this design and I have put this black masking on top of this just to make it more clear. But alignment means that you want to keep the number of lines, number of guided lines as minimum as possible. What does that mean? For example, let's bring in a line and I will change it to whites. So let's say that my heading is vertically aligned with this. So you can see that if I go a little bit here, there you go. So you can see that my heading is starting at this point. So then if I'm creating another heading, I'm keeping it aligned with this. And then if I am creating some subtext, I'm also aligning that. And then I'm also kind of aligning this logos over here as well. So the same thing you will find elsewhere as well. So if I drag this here, you can see that this logo and this mobile screen is also kind of aligned. Then if you go here and you see horizontally, these two are aligned as well. So when they are aligned, they look more systematic, they look more visually appealing. So for example, if I remove this and I put it here and I remove all of that, then it will look a little bit weird. So it might not be very visible, but these are small things that could help you improve your design. So you might want to consider these things. So for example, this C here is aligned with these logos and this one is aligned with this mobile. So, but if I move this, let's say, if I move this a little bit here, then all of the placement gets really bad. So a lot of beginners, they don't focus on this stuff and then they make these mistakes of not aligning it properly. So the idea here is that you want a minimum amount of lines, guided lines, minimum amount of alignments. So don't try to make multiple lines and shift all of them accordingly. For example, what I could have done is I could have also, let's say, created another line over here, and then I could have aligned these tick marks over here and then objects in front. But I didn't do that because I'm not a designer. I want to avoid any complications. So I already have a line. I will just align it to that and that is it. So I don't need to worry too much about that. But again, these are not hard-coded rules. These are just journal guidelines you should follow to create rapid prototypes so that you can get up and running with your demos and your prototypes so you can really focus on the development part. So to create our app design, there are many different ways you can approach this. First of all, you can design it in Photoshop, Illustrator. You can use some online tools like Figma. But today we are going to use Canva because Canva is very easy to prototype and it is very efficient and fast. So what we will do is we will go to canva.com and of course it is free to use. There is a paid subscription as well, but you can get away with free version as well. So you can create a design, and here we are going to write the dimensions of our mobile phone. So you can write the biggest one you are expecting, or you can write even a middle one. It doesn't matter that much. All you have to do is you have to keep in mind that there will be bigger devices than what you are testing on. So I do have quite a large phone, and the dimensions for that are 1080 by 2400. So I'm going to keep that as my standard size. So I'm using Samsung A31. So that is quite large, and this is the screen size for it. So the first thing we will do is we will import our color. So our primary color is orange. So we are going to go to elements, and we will add in a box, and we are going to expand it till the end. And there you go. So now I can change the color for this. So we can pick a specific orange, or we can randomly eyeball it. So let's go to the colors, and here I'm going to just eyeball it for now, because later we can change this color as well. So let's say this is our orange that we want. And the second thing we will do is to import our logo. So I'm using my logo that I have. I've already uploaded it. I can write here logo, and this is the logo that I will be using. This is an SVG file, which means that I can change the color of it as well. So if I change the color, it will change as well. So we will keep it white, and we will center it for now. This is the center, but as you can see, it looks really down if you put it at the center. So we can put it a little bit higher. I think that looks good, and we can scale it up or scale it down as we like. So here, let's say 500. So that is about it. And then we will add a little bit of texture to it in the background. So we want to add a little bit more touch of the logo. So we can copy that, and we can make it bigger. So something like this. We can send it to back. No, we need to send it backwards one time, and then we can change the transparency of it. So let's say, I think 15 is fine. Let's try 15. Yeah, 15. Maybe it's too much. Maybe 10. Yeah, I think 10 is better. So you can play around with these, and you can rotate it, shift it. Now, a lot of the elements we are using here, we will use directly in Unity as well. And some of them we can export from here. Some icons we can get from different websites like Flat Icon or FreePic. So there are many resources that you can use. If you want to use free icons, you can always try the Google icons. They are called the material design. So that is very useful. But for now, we are going to go with this. We will go to text, and we will add a heading here. And we will write here computer vision. Computer and then vision. So I think the font can be a little bit bigger. So let's say 60. Or actually, let's change the font first. So I want something that is curved and edgy at the same time. So one font that I really like is Cairo. So you have Cairo regular, you have Cairo bold. So you can pick one of those. So I think we can do regular or bold. Maybe a little bit smaller. 50 around. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So again, we can change the color to white. So there you go. So maybe a little bit down. So these changes we can make in Unity as well. Here we are just prototyping so that everything works fine. So then we will add our button. So we can go to elements and we can go to shapes and we can pick our rectangle, which is an outline, and we can create a simple button. So I think it should be a little bit thin, so we can reduce the scale of it and then we can just expand it. So we can put it right here, maybe a little bit thicker, a little bit smaller maybe. So again, you can play around with this. We can copy this font and we can paste it here. And here we can say start. I think this bold is not good. We can do regular maybe. Yeah, and probably smaller. So let's say 35. No, that's too small. 45. Yeah. So something like that. And maybe this as well, a little bit smaller. So yeah, I think that is fine. And then we can of course copy this and paste it again. We can lock this so that it doesn't move. And we can copy this and paste it down here, and we can write about. So we do need to add some information because especially if you're uploading to what do you call the App Store, they will not allow unless you have some information on how the app works, who built it and stuff like that. So that needs to be inside your app. So here you can press start or you can press about. So this is our main home page, which is very simplistic, very minimalistic as well. So we will create a new file and then we will go to the second part. In the second part, we can keep the background white and we can add some shape at the top, something curved. So let's write here curve. Or let's write abstract. Abstract. Or let's write gradient. Yeah, something like this we can use. So, or is this the same? This looks a little bit better to me. We can take this, we can rotate it, let's say this way, or maybe this way. Yeah, let's try it this way. So we can have it like this. So just giving it a little bit of design, and of course we can go back to our colors. We can pick orange and white, and then what we need to do is we need to create a menu. So in this menu we will have all the chapters and the projects, so we can scroll through this menu and find our right project. So what we will do is we will go to our rectangle and we are going to get the round edges one, and we are going to create. So there are many options we can use here. We can create like a grid in which we have 2 in a row, but to me it doesn't seem that good. So what we want to do is we want to show big letters with you know, some icons, some images. So I prefer to make it bigger and 1 per row. So we can have this, for example, and Then we can have a heading. So let's copy the font from here. Let's copy it again. It doesn't seem to copy. I don't know why. So let's go to text again, and we'll go to the heading. And here we are going to write, for example, chapter 1. Or should we write it? Okay, let's write the name of the chapter for now, and later on we can decide whether to write the chapter 1, chapter 2 or not. So here we can write, for example, image capture, and I think we can make it left aligned like that. And again, we can go to our font and change it. So we can change this to white. No, it's way too big. Way too big. So we can scale it down, let's say 50. Yeah, that seems about right. And then we can add an icon here. So we can go to elements, and let's say it is about image capture. So let's write capture. Okay, so we have a lot of different options here. How about we write camera capture. Maybe just capture, not with the camera. So this kind of image is good. I like that. So again, it's up to you which one you want to pick. So let's say I pick this one, and I will scale it down to match the size. So I will try to keep it in the same alignment. So as I mentioned, so I can follow this alignment till here, and I can follow this alignment till here. So this way it will be nice and tidy, and I can change this to white to make it look a little more appealing. So the same thing we will do, we can group this as well, but might be a little bit, what is this? Okay, this is that image, that's fine. So we can lock this so it doesn't bother us again and again. So we can copy this and we can paste it down multiple times. So this is basically our idea, and we will have this to scroll, so we can change the values here. So for example, basic functions, something like that. And then we have crop size, crop and resize. So again, we can keep filling these things, and we can change the icons as well. So let's say it's about basic functions, so let's write basic. So when we talk about ABC, it is kind of basic. So how about we just write the letter A? How about we just write that? So I can take that and I can bring it to the same height. There you go. And I can center it with this, and then I can make it white. So that looks good. And then we have crop, so we can search for crop. Not this crop. Yeah, this is actually, this can work. This is for cropping. So there you go. And we can make it white as well. So now you can see it's starting to take shape. Another thing we can do is we can add a search bar here. Now we could add the functionality of search, but At least for now, we will add that search bar so it looks good. So we can write here rectangle. Let's take the same thing again, and here. So now it is quite obvious that we should align it with these two edges. So the one over here and the one over here. So we can do it like that. We can bring all of this down a little bit. Can bring this down, and we can change this to gray. So gray is quite universal. So we can do that, and then we can add the search icon. There you go. So you can pick any one of these. So this is quite standard. So we will pick that. There you go. It's a little bit big. Maybe let's pick this one. So we can go, let's say, dark gray. It still seems a little bit big to me. Okay, so maybe this as well, it's a little bit bigger than expected. Okay, so now I can center this. Yeah, now it looks better. Then we can do the search. So we can copy this and we can increase the size of it. We can remove that and we can write here search. I need to check my spellings. S-E-A-R-C-H. Okay, so for this we have to reduce the size. So let's say 35. That's too small. Let's say 45 or maybe 40. And then we can change the color of this as well to the same that we did earlier, or maybe a little bit lighter, and then we can put it here. Needs to go a little bit higher. There you go. Now it's centered. So that is good. Now we can align this with this. So if we go a little bit here, then we can align it here, and we can push it a little bit further because we don't have anything to align here. So we can write it like that. So that looks fine to me, and I think we can take it from there. So that could be our main screen, and yeah, we also need the back button if we want to go and check the about again. So if we want to go and check the about, we can put a back button here. So we can write here back, and I think this should do it. So we can keep it pretty much the similar size of our search icon, and we can place it somewhere here with the same alignment, like that. So a little bit down maybe. We can change it to white. White or black? I think white is fine. So this is basically our idea, and we can add our logo here as well, but we can do that later. So now I'm thinking that for projects we can give it a blue color as well. So for chapters we will keep it orange, and for what do you call the projects we will make it blue. So you can differentiate them, and we can also add a heading. If we wanted, we can add a heading here that these are, for example, the projects. So we can write here projects. We can make it, or we can go to the bold from here, and we can make it, let's say, 60. We can change the color to gray, and there you go. So we can put it something like this. So these are, let's say, the chapters, and then later on you will have projects. I think this is a little too thick, so something like that. So then we can have the what do you call the projects. So next, let's add a new page, and this page will be for the chapters. So we are going to create a lot of different chapters. So chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, they will not have webcams, but they will have some images. So we need to make something for that. So we can copy this part here, we can paste it here, and like the design we saw in Dribble, we are going to keep it at the edges, and we will curve it here, and we will make it, let's say, 30% of our screen. And then we can copy the back button. So this is our back button at the same position, and then we can write chapter 1, for example. We can copy it from here. We can write here that this is chapter 1, and we can align it with this, and then we can add our actual image. So I have my own image, so I can just paste it here. So this is my image. So this right now has a little bit of shadow, as you can see at the back, so that you can go to adjust, and is it adjust? No, it is effects, I think. In effects you can change the shadow, yeah, so you can have it here, different shadows. So I've added that, so we should align it with this, and then we should align this with that. There you go. So that, I think it should be a little bit bigger, or it was fine before. Maybe a little bit bigger. Or if we are not aligning it here, we can just center it. Because of the shadow, it's making it a little bit weird. We can remove the shadow. Drop shadow, or we can keep it like that. Let's just try it like this. We can move it a little bit till it feels centered. Okay, so yeah, I think that is fine. So we don't want to waste too much time on one thing, because we're just creating a prototype. And then we can create some text. So we can copy this, and we can write some text here. We can change the color to, let's say, grayish, and here we are going to just randomly put some text. So let's paste it here. This will be the explanation that we will use later on, so we can write that later. So here we can write let's say 30, maybe 35. So we can again align it so that it doesn't go out. And we can center it, or we can keep it on the side. I think it's better if it's justified like this. And then at the end we need to add a button, so we will add a button similar to this, but I think we can add it filled this time. So let's go to rectangle, and we can pick this one. There you go. So we can write next, so that we don't have to go back and then go to the next one. We can go from here. So let's center it, and let's make it bold and smaller. Yeah, that looks good to me. So this is basically the idea of all these chapters. So we will be using this, and then the last thing we need is the webcam example. So we will have a webcam. So we will have a lot of different projects that will use webcam. So we need to add the example for that. So let's say I have this image. So this is my image. I'm simply copy pasting it. So what I can do is I can put this down here, and I can create this footer, and then I can create a similar header. So if you go and open up your camera app in your phone, you will see that they have a very large footer and header. Normally we don't really think about this stuff, but if you really focus on it, you will see that it is quite huge. So we don't want to make it too big, but we do have to fill it as much as we can. So we will try to have it not too big and not too small. And then we can add, let's say this is 300, around about 300, and this is 300 as well. So then we can have the capture button. So let's write here, what is it called? Maybe circle. Let's see if we have a circle within a circle, or we can create our own circle within a circle. So we can have something, is it too thick? Seems fine. So we can make it smaller, and then we can add a circle inside of that. So this is usually how our play buttons are, or the capture buttons are. So we can do it like that, and we can group them so we can change their size and whatnot. I think it should be a little bit bigger. This inner circle should be a little bit bigger. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay, I can group this now, and I can change its size. So let's say 150-ish something, and then we have we will need a camera switch button. So if we want to switch between front and back camera, so we can write here switch, let's say, or switch is like refresh as well, so we can write refresh. Yeah, something like this. And we can make this a little bit smaller than the main button, so we can make it white. And what else do we need? Maybe we need the flip. So let's write here flip, something like that. So these two should be the same size. So again, all of these values we will add in our Unity projects. So right now I'm just eyeballing it, but later on we are going to use actual values. So we can put white here, and then at the top we need to put the back button again, and we can also write the chapter name, or we can add the logo again. So we can put it here. This time we need to push it a little bit up, and I can add the logo again. I can copy it from here, make it really small, align it with that, and there you go. So I think that should be fine. So again, this is not the best design. This is not the, you won't say wow this is amazing, but it is not bad to look at. So if you show this as a demo, it will be impressive. that you have put some effort rather than just putting some random gray buttons and some random text. So a little bit of effort goes a long way, especially when you're creating prototypes or demos for real apps. So now that we are done with this design, what we can do is we can export this stuff one by one. We can have these buttons. These are very common squares. Maybe these icons. So again, I'm not sure what is the policy of Canva for exporting single images if you are using the free version. So I'm not sure about that. If it's not allowed, then you can go to something like flat icon or free pics, or you can go to material design, material icons, and here you will find a lot of different designs that you can use. So for example, if you are talking about the capture button, so let's try to find that, and these are very, very good designs. So you can write here capture, let's say. Nothing for that. Let's write camera. There you go. So here you can see this is for camera control. You can use this. Then you can use this. There are many things you can use. Then let's say we want crop. So let's write here crop. Do we have? Yeah, so we have for crop. So as you can see, you will find a lot of good icons here, and these, if I'm not mistaken, these are free to use. These are in public domains. You can read the license on them as well. This is the Apache license, version number 2. So you can read more about this. So once we have the overall picture of what we are going to do, we will move on to the Unity project and we will recreate all these 4 different pages. And from there, we will start with our projects or the chapters one by one. So now let's get started with creating our app. So first we will create a new project. And we will call this CV_app. We will keep the default settings for now. So here we have our Unity project opened up. So let's have a look at the interface first. So on the left hand side, we have the hierarchy, which has all the different objects that are present in our game or app. Then in the middle, we have our scene, and this is the exact same place we will have our game. So game is basically the preview, or when you press the run button, this is where it will lead you to. So the scene is where you keep all the objects and you can change the parameters and you can do all sorts of different things over here. So this can be a 3D environment and it can be a 2D environment. So right now you can see that we have the camera and it is showing that where does it see or where does it point. So what we can do is we can rotate this, and if you look at this icon over here, this indicates that it is in 3D mode, it is in perspective, and if I click on it, it will change to 2D mode. So we are going to mostly use the 2D mode, and if you click the middle mouse button through which you can scroll, if you click the middle mouse button, you can pan. So zoom is through the scroll, and if you click in, it will pan. So this will allow you to move around within your environment. And on the right hand side, you can see we have the inspector. Now in the inspector, we will have all different types of attributes that we can change of an object. So here you can see, for example, we have a light. So I can change the brightness, I can change the color of the light, the direction of the light, its placement, and all sorts of different things. So this is the basic concept of objects and how you can choose different attributes. Then at the bottom, we have our project. Now this is a project folder, and we have the console on which we can check or debug our game or app. And then we have the animation. So the first thing we can do is we can bring in the graphics of our project. So I will right click here and I will create a new project, a new folder, and I will call this, let's say, the course. And inside this, I am going to drag in the graphics. So this graphics folder will be available on the course page. You can download it from there. And it has all these different images that we will be using. So, but the thing is, we cannot use them right now. What we do have to do is we have to go to each one of these and we have to change its property. So the property we have to change is basically the texture. So the texture type has to be Sprites 2D and UI. So UI stands for user interface. So we are going to use the UI method. So here we will change it, but instead of changing one, we are going to change all of them simultaneously. So let's click here. I will press Shift and I will click on the last one. And I am going to go to default, sprites, and I will apply. So this will change all of them. And now you can see it is showing us the PNG images with the proper backgrounds. So the same thing we will do with the other folders. I will change it to sprites, UI, and then we will go to the other. So all these graphics we are going to use in our design, and we will see one by one how we can use them. So these are all based on what we have done. And this is basically the resources folder. Now this resources folder basically contains the images that we are going to import. So you can see we have the cards image, Lamborghini image, paper, shapes, and my own image for testing. So for these images, we are also going to say that they are UI, and we are going to apply. So now we can use pretty much all of these images that we have imported. So once you go and open up your scenes folder, you will see that there is a sample scene over here. So we are not going to use this. Instead, we are going to create our own scenes. So we will create a new folder here and we will call it chapters. Chapters. So within this chapter, we are going to create another folder and we will call this chapter 1. And now whatever is required in terms of the scene and in terms of the code will be present inside this folder. The same way we will create chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we will have all these different chapters. So this is the basic idea, and you can see the hierarchy of the project. You have the assets, inside you have course, then chapters, and chapter 1, 2, 3, and then the graphics, and then the scenes, and all of that. So this is basically your interface, and now we are going to look at some settings. So for the settings, we are going to first go to File, and we will go to Build Settings. So in the Build Settings, whatever scenes that we want to add to our app, we have to drag in over here. But this we will not do now, we will do it later on. For now, the most important thing is that we are on the correct platform. So we need to be on Android. Now, if you are using iOS, if you are on Mac and you are using iOS, then you have to switch to iOS. I have not installed iOS because I'm using Windows, and there will be no point for that. So here I will click on Android and I will click on Switch Platform. So now we have switched to the Android platform, and now we will click on the player settings. Now this opens up quite big. I think we need to minimize it, and then we can just drag it in on the right hand side. So there you go, it's much cleaner now. So there you go. Okay, so here we have our company name. So I can say Murtaza's Workshop. And then we have the app name. So I think this app name is fine, CV app. We can remove the underscore. And then this is the version number. Now, the next thing we have is our default icon. So if you have already imported the images, then you can simply select, and here you can see the app icon. So I can select that. Then in the Android settings, you are going to go to resolution. And in the resolution, we are going to set our orientation as portrait. We don't want it to automatically rotate. We want it to keep as portrait by default. So you can have, for example, you can select which ones you want and which ones you want to avoid. But for now, we are just going to keep portrait for simplicity. So once this is done, we are going to close the project settings. We will make this smaller and we will close this. So now we can go to the edit preferences. So edit and preferences. And here we have to make sure that our external script editor is Visual Studio. So if you have other IDEs installed on your PC, you might find those as well. But since we are using Visual Studio, we want to make sure that this is enabled. Now, the reason is that if you are using another editor, or if you have selected something else over here and you open up Visual Studio, it will not give you that autofill features. So it will not show you which methods are available, which functions, which variables are available. So that auto format is very important because you cannot remember every method or every spelling, whatever is available in the package. So this is quite handy, and we are going to close this. So these are the settings that are required to get started with our Unity project for OpenCV and computer vision. So now we are going to create our startup page. Now the startup page is where you will have the start button and you will have the logo, and where you will also have the option to check what the app is about. So we will have an about button as well. So to do this, we are going to go to assets, and then we will go to our course. In the course, we are going to right click and we are going to create a new scene. So we will call this start up page. So we can open this startup page. By the way, you can see we have some errors on the console. So we can just hit clear. If they clear out, it means we don't have any issues. If it remains, then we have a problem. So we are going to go to our project, and we have already opened up startup page. You can see here that it says startup page. So this means we have opened it up successfully. So what we will do is we will first right click on our hierarchy, and we are going to create a UI element. And within the UI element, we are going to create a canvas. So the canvas is the area where our app is confined. So whatever we put inside the canvas will appear in our mobile app. So we have to make sure that the size of this is accurate. So first of all, we are going to go to the canvas scaler, and here we are going to scale with screen size. And the screen size we are going to choose will be the one that we have on our phone. So at least for the one that we want to test. So here we are going to write 1080 by 2400. Now I'm using Samsung A31. So if you are using another phone, you can write the information of that, the screen size of that. Now you want to test it with the biggest one and the smallest one you are working with. So right now I have given the parameters of the biggest one. So once you do that, you are going to go to game. And in the game, here you can see I have already added this, style, or this resolution. So if you don't have this, you can click on the add button. And here you can label your resolution. For example, I will write 1080 by 2300. I don't know if this is valid, but just for the sake of it, I'm showing you how this is done. So we can have the aspect ratio, or we can have the fixed resolution. So in this case, the width is 1080 by 2300. So I can add that, and now you can see it is constrained to that resolution. So we are going to use 1080 by 2400. So I can go back to my scene, and now you can see that I have that exact same dimension shown here. Now if I put anything inside of this, it will appear pretty much with the same size as in my phone. So let's add something to this. So whatever elements we are going to add within this canvas. Nothing should be outside this canvas. So we are going to right click on the canvas. We will go to UI, and the first thing we will add is our background image. So we will click on image. So as you can see, the image is quite small. So in the middle, you can see it's 100 by 100. So we are going to go to our rectangle tool, and from that rectangle tool, let me click that again, we are going to stretch it out. So here you can see when I stretch this out, my value over here for the width and the height changes. So instead of stretching this out, what I can do is I can write here the exact values that I want. So I want this background to be bigger than my canvas, because you might have a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller canvas for a different phone. So that's why you want to keep the size of the biggest canvas possible, or the one that you expect that it will be there. So here we are going to give it a size of, let's say, so our width was 1080. So let's say we will give it 1500, and our height was 2400. So let's say we give it 3000. So now we can give the position as 0 and 0. So now it is exactly in the center. Okay, so that is good. Now we can see, and you can see this is the canvas area, and now we have space outside as well. So if our app had one specific color, we could change that color by going to our image, and we will go to the color, and here we can pick any color that we want. And you can see that it changes on the image. So for our app, we have an orange color at the background. So we are going to change that orange color. So here are the numbers, FF9A00, the orange that we picked, and I'm going to close this. So now you can see this is my canvas, and if I go to my game, you can see this is the orange color, the nice orange plain color that we get. So now I can go back to my screen, and I can call this image background, and let's say orange, because I know I'm not going to change this. Then we can add another image. So we will right click and we will add another image, and we will call this the background underscore logo. So let's import our logo. So we will click on the image component over here, and we will click on the small dot that will open up this menu. And here we are going to add the logo. So where is the logo? Wait, why can't I find it? There you go. It's hidden. Okay, so this is my logo, and what I can do is I can again dramatically change the scale of this. Actually, this is not the scale. This is the width and height, and this here is the scale. So I usually prefer to work with these values. So here I can say, let's say 1500 by 1500, but you can see it's not big enough. So we need to go really big. So let's say 3500 by 3500. So that seems quite big. And what we can do is we can rotate this. So here is the rotation button. So you have rotate tool, you have the scale tool, you have the rect tool, and these are the three common tools that we will be using. So now you can adjust the position of this by simply clicking on it, and you can click on the move tool and you can move it around. So let's see, where does it look good? So let's say we can keep it here, maybe a little bit down, or maybe like that. So you can play around with this, and then we can change the transparency of this. So how can we do that? We can click on the white color. Now the good thing is this is a PNG and I can literally change its color as well, but we don't need to. So whenever you are importing a PNG and you want to change the color within Unity, make sure to import it as plain white. So then you can put any color on it. So then we will put it as white and we will change the transparency to, let's say, 20. Is 20 too low? Let's try 40. No, that's too much. 30. I think 20 was fine. 20 was good. So we are going to close this and we can go to our game and you can see a slight subtle texture of the logo at the back. So this gives us a nice look. Okay, so far so good. Now the third thing is our logo itself that will come in the middle of our image or the middle of the app. So here we will go and we will create a new image, and this image again will be our logo. So I can click on that, and here again we can change the size of this to, let's say, 500 by 500. Yeah, it seems nice. It's not so bad. One other thing that you can do if you want to be very exact with your scaling and everything, when you design it in Canva or whatever software, you can import that image and you can bring it in the background, and then you can change the transparency of it. And then you can lay it exactly as you have planned. But since this is just a demo app, I am not putting a lot of focus on the design. So I will just eyeball it for now. So I think this is fine. And then what can we do next? We can add our text, which comes below this. So we'll go to Canvas, we will go to UI, and we will go to text. So the text will be very small. So you want to zoom in. And first of all, you want to increase the text area. So here we are going to increase this size, let's say till here and till here. Then we can increase it here as well. And then we are going to increase the font size. So here you can see I'm increasing the font size. And then I can also middle it horizontally and middle it vertically. Now we have selected a font. So we have imported all these fonts. Now you might ask, where are they coming from? They are in the graphics. And then if you go to fonts, so these are the different fonts that we have imported. So these I have downloaded from Google Fonts. So you can go and select your own and just bring it here if you fancy another font. So I can click on this and then I can go to my fonts and let's pick the regular one. And we can close this. Or should we pick a different one? I think it's better if we take the bold one. What happened? Okay, so here we will go to the bold one. Yeah, that looks better. So now we can change the color. So again, we will go down and we see the color. We can change it to white. And here we can change the text. So we can write the text here, let's say computer vision. So now you will see it is not showing up because it does not have enough space. So if you push it around, you can see you have good amount of space. But the spacing in between is really bad. So we want to reduce that. So this is the line spacing. I can reduce that to, let's say, 0.6. And I can push it up here. So let's go to the game and see. It seems a little too low, maybe a little bit higher. Yeah, that sounds good. So again, I think the text may be a little bit bigger. So let's change it to 75. Let's try that out. Maybe a little bit higher. By the way, you can place this over here and you can do this simultaneously. So we can do it like this. So the best way to do this is using two screens. So usually I have one screen for the game and the other one is for the scene. So I'm doing them, both of them together. So that is the most ideal scenario, but if you don't have a second screen, you can do this as well. Okay, so I think that is good enough for now. And then we can add our button. So the button, how can you add? You can right click and go to UI and you can add a button. But the button that is by default is really bad. Let me show you. And it comes with this text and this weird panel. To be honest, I don't like to import this. So what we can do is we can import an image instead. We will right click, we'll go to UI and we will create an image. And in that image, we are going to create a button. So basically in Unity, all you have to do is you have to add a component. So I can add a component button to this, and now it has become a button. So if I run this, if I play it, you will see that this is now a button. So that's how simple it is. So here we have the button. So what we have to do is we have to bring in our rectangle. So let's see what is the size of that. So we are going to go to the sprites. And here, this is our button outline. So we are going to select that. And we are going to give it a size of 400 by 300. So this is the size that we will use. We can bring it here. And inside that, we are going to, let's name it first. We are going to call it button start. And then inside that, we are going to create a text. So we can be lazy and copy the text from here. We can copy this and we can paste it inside. But you can see when we paste it, it doesn't go inside. So we can just drag it in and leave it. So now it's inside that button. But you see the position is not right. So what we can do is we can click on this text and now it is the child of this button parent. So this is the parent and this is the child. So we will tell the child to go to the 0 position and it will automatically come in the middle of this. So we will click on the child and we will go to our position and we will put it as 0. So now you can see it goes directly in the middle. And now what we can do is we can go to the, the rect tool, and then we can make sure that it doesn't go outside of the button. So we can do this and then we can do that. So now it's within the button. So we just need to write here start, and then we can reduce the size of it. So there you go. So now you can see it is much more visible, and I can, let's say, change the size, or I think it's good for now. So if I run this and if I click on it, I think that is good enough. Looks good. So we can go back and here we can change this just to text. And then we need to create another button to actually have for about. So I can copy and paste this by pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl V. You can also duplicate, or you can copy and paste. So here I will rename this to about, and I am going to just change the Y direction. So here I can bring it down a little bit, and that should be fine. So here we are going to rename it. So let's rename it to about, and there you go. So I think that looks pretty good. And for now, I guess we are done for the homepage. So if I click on this, sorry, not the homepage, the startup page. So if I click on this, it will open this up. And for now it looks good. So what we will do is, once we finish the page, we are going to go to File, we will go to Build Settings, and we will add this page to the scenes in the build. So I will drag it in, or I can click on Add Open Scenes. So now I have course/startup page in my app pages. So it has an ID and it has a name. So our first page has been created. So congratulations. And now we are going to straight away go to the second page. So now that we have created our startup page, we are going to start with the home page. Because we have a lot of parameters and a lot of things that we have to do by default, we are not going to do everything again and again. We are going to create copies of what we have already done. So it is a good idea to have templates. For example, if you're using webcam again and again, it is good to create a template for webcam and then use it in different apps. And then if you are using, let's say, we are going to do 7 chapters and their outline is pretty much the same. So we will create a template and we will copy that template again and again. So what we will do here is that we are going to click on our startup page and we will go to Edit and Duplicate. You can do this also by Control D. So this will duplicate the page. And now if I double click it, it will automatically open page 1. It says Startup Page 1. So now I need to change the name of this. I'm going to call it Home Page. And I will reload. So now you can see that I have changed it to Home Page. And now all these settings that I had to do before, I don't have to do it again. So here we are going to make some changes. The first thing is that we don't have this logo right up front. Then our background color is plain white. So we are going to change that. Let's go here. And then maybe we will change this because it's not very visible. So maybe we will increase the... Okay, we need to make it a little bit gray so that it is at least visible. Very subtle, but visible. Okay, there you go. I think it's fine. Then we have the start and the about button. Do we need those? No, I don't think we need those. So we can remove that. We also have the text. Now we are lazy and we don't want to create new text. So I'm going to just change the color and keep it aside. And we are going to use that later on. Okay. So what we will do now is, first of all, we will start from the very top. We will create the header. So our header, if you remember, was kind of an abstract shape. So we can go to graphics. We will go to other. And we have our header abstract. So we will create a new image. So we will create a new image here. And we are going to import our abstract shape. So now we want to increase the size of this. So we will check the size of our canvas. So it is 1500. So we are going to make the width of this 1500. And because this is imported as a square, we are going to keep it 1500 by 1500. So this gives us our relevance image and we can place it somehow like that. I think it looks good. So you can see here the result. So we can move it around left and right if you wish. But again, you can play around with these values. I think if you have it a little bit here, or yeah, I think this is fine. So we can have it like that. Okay, so the next thing will be our back button. So we are going to create a new button. So we will right click, we will go to image, and we are going to import the back button. So the back button will be white, and here we are going to move it around, but this seems a little bit small. So let's make it bigger. So I think that is fine. So we can place it somewhere around here. So that looks good to me. Now, one important thing here to note is that you have anchor points. So if you click over here, you have these anchor presets. So this means that your app will be some sort of responsive. So it will be based on which anchor point you have fixed. So for example, this header is supposed to be on the top. By the way, I should write here header underscore abstract. So let's place it on the top. So this abstract header should always be located based on the height of your app. So we are going to say, instead of the center, change it based on the height. So anchor it based on this height. Then for the button here, let's call it button underscore back. For button, we are going to say anchor it on the top left. So here it's anchored on the top left. Instead of from the center here or somewhere here, we are going to anchor it over here. Okay, so that is the main idea. So this way, if you use it on different phones, it will help you a little bit. But again, you will have to play around with these values. It's not that easy that you will get it right the first time. Okay, so moving on, we are going to create, what should we create? Let's create the search bar. So by the way, we need to add the component here. So we can go here, add component, and we can click on button. And now this is a button. So if I run this, and you can see now it acts like a button. So that's how simple that is. Okay, great. So now we need to go to our scroll bar, not the scroll bar, the search bar. So we will create an input field. So we will right click here, we will go to UI, and we are going to click on the input field. So that will give us an input field. And now the first thing we will do, we will change its size. So we will go here and we will change it to 800, and then 800 by, let's say, 150. So right now everything is white, so it's a little bit weird, but you can see on the game itself. So we are going to place it somewhere that it looks good. And then we are going to, now if you open it up, you have a placeholder. Placeholder is basically the text. That is when you have not written anything on it. And then text is the actual text that you write on it. So we will look into both of these once we run it. Now for the input field, we have to select our, we had a specific search bar item for it. Yes, this one. So we have the search bar rectangle. So we can select that, or is it too small? It is a little bit small. So let's pick the rectangle. Yeah, the rectangle is good. We can change its color so we can view it properly. So very subtle gray. Maybe that's okay. So that is good. And is there a transparency on it? No. Okay. So that is good. Or is it? I think we need to reduce a little bit more. Maybe here. Okay, we can play with these colors later on. For now, we are going to go to the text. So both for the placeholder and the text, we have to apply the same parameters. So I will go to the placeholder because it is visible at this point. And what we can do is we can change its position. So we will say that our placeholder is still here, let's say, because we need to add an icon for the search. So I will right click here and create a UI, and I will place it inside that input field. So I will say that this is my, where is it? Search icon. And we will give it a dark gray color. Not too dark, think that's fine. So we will anchor this. Now this is the child and this is the parent. So we will anchor this child based on the parent, and we will say that it is on the left hand side. So it is supposed to be here. So we will anchor it from the left. So now you can see the anchor shifted to the left. And now from the left, we can give it a position. So let's say our position is 50. Let's write 50. It's too small. Then let's say 75. Maybe a little bit more. 85. So again, you can play with these values, and we can decrease the size of it because it looks too big. Way too small. 75. 75. Better. I think it looks good. So then once that is done, we are going to go over here to our placeholder, and we will check that if our anchor here was how much? What is this? It is at 85. So 85 plus 85 is 170. So we will move this placeholder to 170. So it's already at 170 around. So we can change this to 170. There you go. So now it's evenly distributed, and we can go to the placeholder again. And now we are going to give it the same parameters as our previous example. We will center it horizontally and vertically. Or do we need to? We need to put it on the left side. And then we need to increase the size. Let's say 33 seems fine. And then in the font, we have to pick, let's say, light. And we can call the placeholder as search and ... Of course, my spellings are wrong. SEARCH. And yeah, maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think now it's better. So we can make it like this, and then the text has to be exactly the same. So for the text, we will again put it from the left. We will say 170, and then it will be in the middle vertically and on the left. And what was the size of the placeholder? It was 46, so we'll make the text 46 as well. So that is good. And what else? We can change the color of it a little bit more. We can make it a little bit darker. So let's run this and see what happens. So if I zoom in and if I type in here something, there you go. So now it's black. So I can write here, this is awesome. There you go. So again, I think it is too dark. Maybe we can change it a little bit. Slightly, you know. Okay, so let's test it again. Yeah, I think it's better now. So if you want to change it during the run, you can do that too. But it is not guaranteed to save the change. So what you can do is you can copy the color. And when you pause it or stop it, then you can go back here and paste the color. So that is one trick to change colors. Okay, so that is good. And now we are going to create the main aspect of our homepage, which is the boxes or the menu items that we can click on. Those are our chapters. So what we will do is we will go to the canvas and we will right click. And here we are going to add a special item, and that is a scroll view. So this scroll view will help us scroll like in a normal app. So we don't have to write any code or anything. All we need to do is we need to drag and drop our components within this scroll view. So the first thing we will do is we will keep the size of this the same as our width of the search bar. So we are going to make this 800. And then for the height, we are not going to give it any particular height. We will just drag it for now. And we will start it somewhere here, let's say. So this is our idea. And now if you see on the side, there is a very subtle line you can see, and you will see it on the bottom as well. What is this? This is basically the scroll bar. The one you see in a lot of applications, the one you see on your browser where you can scroll up and down. But this is something you don't see on apps. So we are not going to use that. So you can see now I have shifted this. So to bring it back, you can basically use these guidelines. Okay, so this looks good. And if we open up our scroll view, we will have a few things. We have the scroll horizontal and we have the scroll bar vertical. Now the horizontal we don't need at all. So we are going to delete that. But the scroll bar vertical we need because we want to scroll vertically. But we don't want to delete it. We want to reduce the size to 0. So now there is no width for this. So now you can see it is gone. So that is good. But we do need its functionality. So that's why we are not deleting it. Now, if we open up our viewport, we have something content inside of it. The content is the viewport is where you will view all the items. So anything that is outside the viewport will be cut out. It doesn't matter how big that is, it will be cut out. And the content is basically what we will have within our scroll view. So let's say we create one rectangle. So we will create an image. So we will give it a size. We have the rectangle. And let's give it a size of 800 by, let's say, 400. So this is what we have. Now at the background, we are going to remove the color for this scroll view. But for now, we are going to keep it. Later on, we are going to remove that color. Okay, so one thing we have to do is we have to create a grid. Now, why do we need a grid? Because when we create a new item, I don't want to drag it and space it evenly each time. So I don't want to do that. I want it to scroll, or I want it to adjust by its own. So what I will do is I will go to the content and I will add a new component to this. And that component is vertical layout group. So this vertical layout group now helps us creating that evenly spaced items. So let's say I have this template and I will change the color for this to our orange. So the color for our orange was this FF9A00. So we are going to use that. And inside that, we are going to insert an image and a text. So you remember the text we kept. Now is the time to use it. Where is it? This is the text. So we will drag it in. So I can call this, let's say, chapter 1. And I have an image and I have a text inside of it. So this text we are going to keep on the left side, and the image we are going to keep on the right hand side. So we are going to anchor the image on the right hand side, and we are going to anchor the text on the left hand side. Now we can change their positions. So here, first of all, we have to give in the size. So let's say 200 by 200. And here we are going to give in, let's say, the position of 20. No, 20 is not good. It should be the opposite side. So let's move it around here. That seems fine to me. Minus, let's say, minus 200. And then for computer vision, we are going to decrease the size of it. Let's put it to 0, 0 first. 0 and 0. And then we can change the size of Y. And here we can change the font to, let's say, regular. And we can change the color of it to, let's say, white. And what else? We can decrease the size because it just looks way too big. So maybe we can add, let's say, what is it, 75? Maybe 60? Yeah, it looks good. And we can align it on the left. And then we can push it further a little bit. So let's push it a little bit further. And I think it looks good. So this is our standard. And we can add an image here. For example, the first one is chapter 1. What was it? I have named all of them, so you can basically reduce the size of this and you can see the chapters. So chapter, the first one is image capture. So I can click on that and this will give you the icon. So here I can write, where is the text? Here in the text, I can write image, it should be capital, I think, image capture. So there you go. So now you can see that we have our image capture and we have our icon over here. So that looks good. So now I can copy this chapter 1 and I can paste it multiple times. Now before we do that, we have to make sure that it is absolutely ready for what do you call duplication. So we need to make sure that this is a button. So we will add it, a button, because we want to click on it and it will take us to that chapter. That chapter will be a new screen, not a screen, a scene. Okay, so this is all good. And let's see if we can move this. I think the viewport is blocking it. Because of this, we can shift it a little bit. We can shift the scroll view, or should we increase? Okay, what we can do is we can go to the scroll view and we can change this size of 820. We can increase the size a little bit and then we can move it 20 to the side. So we want to align it with this. So there you go. So now it's aligned and you will see that the position is 10 here and you can see that this is aligned as well. So this, at the end of the day, we will remove the color. So if we go to the scroll view and we do this, it will remove the color. So we want to make sure that it is centered. So now it is centered and it all looks good. And what we can do is, now we can duplicate this. So this is our chapter number 1 and I can just copy and paste. So I can paste it, let's say 4 times or let's say 5 times. So now you can see that they are aligned next to each other, but that is what we don't want. We can go to content and if you remember the vertical layout group that we did, we can add some spacing to it. You can see that. We can add evenly spaced items. So let's say 50. And then we can also add some padding. If at the top or the left we want some padding, we can add that too. But in this case, I don't think we need any padding. We can keep it to 0, 0. And where is the alignment? We can say that it is the upper center or the, it should not be middle center. It can be upper center. So just make sure it is aligned properly. Yeah, it is still fine. So that is good. So here the content, you can see it is not expanding based on the items we have increased. So it will not be able to scroll properly. If we run it and if we try to scroll, it is not good. So you can see it just bounces back. So we need to fix that. So we will go to our content and here we are going to add content filter size filter. And we are going to constrain the vertical fit to be preferred size. So now you can see it is based on how many objects we have. If I remove one object, you will see the size automatically changes. If I remove another one, you can see the size changes again. So this is what we want. So now it is good. And one more thing we need to do, we need to go to our scroll view. And here we are going to remove the horizontal. So we are going to remove horizontal scroll completely. And now if we run this, you will see we can go up and down. So, and it is nice and smooth. But if we add more, let's see if it works or not. So here you can see we have added more. And by the way, this we can remove or we can limit till here. So we need to limit the content first here. So let's say till here. Or no, it should not be till here. It should be till the canvas, where the canvas ends. So we can limit it till there so we can see everything. And then if we run it now, you will see that I can scroll up and there you go. Now, if I go to the last one, you will see that it is right at the edge. So it doesn't look good because it's not showing the whole thing. So what we can do is we can add a little bit of padding to the bottom. So we will go to our vertical layout, and in the padding at the bottom, we are going to give it, let's say 50. So let's try that again. If we go down, and there you go. So now you have a little bit of padding, so it doesn't look that good. Maybe we need to increase a little bit, but because we are using 50 here, I have used 50 here as well. So to keep it even. So the next thing would be very simple. We will simply add all these different icons and names to our chapters. And one more thing you can do is you can create a heading as well. So let's say I create a new chapter. I will bring it up and I will call this heading for, let's say, chapters. And then I can create a heading for courses. So instead of all the button and all this thing, I can remove, let's say, the icon. I have the text, I can center it. I can put it to 0. And then I can center it from here. And then it looks really big. It doesn't look like a heading at all. So first of all, let's change it to chapters. Chapters. Spellings are correct, surprisingly. I will put it as bold, and now you can see it says chapters. So maybe a little bit bigger. Little bit, maybe 75. Okay, so now I can go to the heading chapter, and here I can change the height of this. So let's say right about here. So now this is chapters. Now, if you don't want this at the background, you can change maybe the transparency of it to make it look different. You can play around with these values. You can also make the text appear on the left-hand side. You can go till the end like this. And here, then I need to decrease the size a little bit, maybe 70. So here I can change its position now. So I can move it a little bit forward. So right now it's from the middle. So I will say it's from this side. And then I will give it some value. Let's say till here. Then I can bring this back till here. So there you go. So that is basically your heading. So now if I go back and I run this, there you go. So now we have these nice, good, buttons that will navigate us to our chapters. So what you have to do next is to select all of these and you have to change the name. So here, for example, it will be chapter 2, and then it will be, the image will be for chapter 2. So you can see here chapter 2 is basic functions, and here we will write basic functions. So if you want to do it yourself, you can skip this part. Otherwise, you can follow along. So here we will write basic functions. It looks small because I didn't capitalize it. Basic functions. Then we will go to the third chapter. Then fourth. Fifth. Sixth and seventh. So we will keep this for now, and later on we are going to add our apps here as well. I want to run all the apps, all the functionality from within one app, because I don't want you to try out run different seven different apps or 5 different apps just for the testing purposes. So I will put all of it in one app, and then you can test all these different functionalities. So for now we will keep this as 7, and we will go in and change the image. So the third one is crop and resize. We'll write here crop, and again I made the same mistake, crop and resize. And then the fourth one is, what is the fourth one? It is draw shapes and text. So I will write here draw shapes. If you want to view this, you can do that by clicking on contents, and you can move it up like that. So now we are on the fifth one. So the fifth one is, I believe, verb. Oh, I did it to the wrong one. Okay, I need to go back, not to the chapter, we need to do it to the image. I should have renamed it to icon, that would have been better. But anyways, you get the idea. So here I will write verb, and then I will write here texts to verb perspective. Perspective. Then I will go to chapter 6. Image will be color detection, and text will be color detection. Then chapter 7, image will be, what is it? Contours. Yes, chapter contours. And we will change this to contour detection. Okay, so let's run it and enjoy the views. There you go. So now I can scroll up and down, and I can go fast and slow, and it looks awesome. Great. So that is good. So now we are going to create our chapters page. So throughout chapter 1 to 7 or maybe 6, we are going to use the same pattern, and for that we have a template. So let's create that template. So we will go to our course, and we are going to duplicate which one? Let's say we duplicate this home page, the one we just did. So we will go to edits and duplicate. So I can double click it. Let's just first of all cancel it. So this is the startup page. We need to make sure that this is saved. And then I will change the name of this to, let's say, chapter 1. And I will drag it into chapters, then chapter 1. And now I will double click it. Okay, I copied the wrong one. Okay, let's copy that one. The other one, it is the home page. Don't save. Yeah, don't save. I think I duplicated the home page. Let's try it again. Yeah, home page, and then I will write here chapter 1. Go to chapters, double click it, and there you go. So this is chapter 1 now. And what we will do is we will go to our canvas, the orange background orange. It should be white. Let's remove that background white, and then background logo, then header. So we need to first of all change the header. So based on our design, we have a square. So this is our square, and we are going to pick the same color. So we will go to our scroll view, contents, and we will pick the color, the orange color, and we will paste it to our header. So let's paste it here. There you go. So we just need to center it. So the X position, we need to put it as 0. And I think it doesn't look that bad. Maybe a little bit lower. So yeah, and then it seems fine to me. Okay, so then we need to, so let's put it as square. Then we have the back button, which should remain the same on top of that. Then we have the input field. We will not need the input field. Then we have the scroll view, and again, we will not need the scroll view. But because we are lazy, we are going to take the text out of it, so we don't have to put all the properties again. Great. So this is our text. So we are going to align it with this, kind of, and then we will place it on the side. So like this, chapters. We can change this to, let's say, lights, extra lights, bold, regular. I think regular is fine. We just need to make it capital letters were not looking good, so let's make it chapter 1. So I think that looks good. And what else do we need? So the next thing we need is, by the way, we can make this anchor on the right, and we can make this anchor on the left, which is already on the left. I think this should be bold. Let's make it bold. Yeah, this looks better. And maybe the size as well. It's, I think, a little bit smaller than it should be. Let's go to the text, and we can make it 75. Oh, it doesn't, it's not enough. So we can, based on this, we can align that. And now I think it's better. Why is it going out? Let's bring it back here. Okay. So now we are going to create an image. Now, okay, let's change this to text underscore chapter number. So the thing is that we are going to use an image like before, but this time around we are going to use a raw image. So whenever we want to display the output of our OpenCV functions, we are going to use a raw image. So images normally we will use for icons, buttons, and everything. But whenever it comes to images or videos, we are going to use, whenever it comes to OpenCV video or images, we are going to use raw image. So it is pretty much the same. So we can change the size of this. So let's say we are going to make it 900 by 900. Seems good. We can push it up a little bit. and we can give it a gray color so that we know where it starts and where it ends. There you go. And then at the bottom we need to add some text. So we will copy the text, we'll come down here, we will change the color. First of all, let's say to that. And then we are going to, so I can write here text underscore description. So here we are going to write the description. So I have written down the description of chapter number 1. So I will paste it here. Again, you can find this description in the course page. So 75 is way too much. So we are going to write, let's say 50. 50, or maybe 50 is big as well. 45, let's say. Anyways, so let's increase the size of this first. So let's anchor it, or let's increase the size here, then here and down. I think if we center it, it will look better. Yeah. So we can reduce the size of it a little bit, and then we can, what is this? This is on the right. We need to make it centered. So then we can change the position to 0. So it will be right in the center. And we can push it up a little bit. There you go. And then what we will do is we will add our button. So the button will be right click UI image, and we are going to add the button outline. There you go. So that is the outline, and this time around we are going to change it to orange because the color is white at the back. Okay, I forgot I copied the text. That happens a lot. I will go to the square, I will copy the code from there, the color code, and then we can come back to the image and we can paste it here. And now I need to increase the size. So we will keep the same dimensions as we did before, so to keep the consistency. So 400 by 300. So that looks good. We can anchor it to the bottom. And yeah, that looks good. And then we can add, we can call it button underscore next. And we can add a text inside of it. But again, we are going to copy this text description and we are going to paste it inside here. And then we will remove all of this and we will call it next. I think small letters will be better. And we can change the color of it to orange. And now it is already in the center, so we can put the value 0 here and it will go to the center. So maybe a little bit bigger, 50. Yeah, I think it looks good. So this is how we can create our chapter number 1, and we need to add a button to it. So I can write here text underscore next. That kind of rhymes. Text next. Yeah. Anyways, so here we can write, what do we write? We write a button. So we add a button and now I can test it. I can click next and it works. But to be honest, this looks quite empty. We should go a little bit higher. So here I can go a little bit higher. And then I can bring the text a little bit higher as well. And the button a little bit higher as well. Now the thing is that this should be aligned with this and this button should be aligned with this. Otherwise it looks bad. So we need to align this right about here. Again, I'm eyeballing it. You can go to exact numbers and try it out, but I don't want to do that. So to align this one, the easy way is to make it on the right side, and then we can align it like that, like this. There you go. So now I think it looks good. So by the way, you can test, you can put an image here. I can put this to white, and I can put my image, which is the test image. So this is how it should look like. So this is the basic idea. So far it looks good. And then we need to make all these buttons functional. By the way, we are not going to use this image. We are going to keep this as plain or none, so that we can add our own image through the code, not static like this, dynamically by writing our OpenCV code. So this is good. Now we are basically done with the design parts, and we can go ahead and start with the navigation of the buttons, and then we will start with our chapter 1. So now we are going to create our first script that will link all these pages together that we have created. So all these scenes or pages, whatever you want to call them. So the idea is very simple. We are going to create a new folder. This is in the course. And then we are going to call it scripts. And inside that, we are going to create a new C# script. So throughout the course, we are going to use C# for this programming of computer vision. So throughout the course, we are going to use C# for programming. So we will create a new file and we will call it page navigation. Now, the name of this file is very important because that will be the name of your class. So C# is object oriented. So therefore, we have all these different scripts as actual classes. So if I double click on this, it will open up Visual Studio. And this is because we have already linked Visual Studio with this. So if we go back to our Visual Studio and we go to Edit and Preferences, inside that you will see in External Tools, we have linked it to Visual Studio Community. So therefore it opens up in that. Now, if by any chance it says here miscellaneous files, or the other way you can test it is by writing, let's say, game. So if you write game, it should show you game object. So if it doesn't show you, it means it's not linked with Unity. Then you need to go to Tools, Get Tools and Features, and there might be an update that you have to perform, or you might not have installed the Unity add-on. So here you can see game development with Unity. If that is not checked, you need to click on that and then you need to modify or install whatever it says. So make sure you are up to date, your Visual Studio is installed and it is at the current version, the most advanced one, and then the you have the extension of Unity as well. So once both of them are done, we will see something like this. So here we have our namespaces. You can think of these as libraries or packages which have lots of different classes and functions and methods that we can use. And then we have our own class that we just created. So this is the class page navigation. So don't worry about these classes and these objects for now. Just think of this as just a single page of code that we are going to run. And we are going to attach this to an object in Unity. We will see how we can do that later on. So here we are going to say class page navigation. Now you will see this basically means extension. So we are getting the classes from mono behavior class as well. So this is not something related to C#, it is related to Unity. So mono behavior is the base class which has all these classes or all these methods, for example, void start, void update, fixed update, and lots more methods that are related to Unity. So once we create any new script, we will have the base class attached to it so that we can use these predefined methods. So here we have the two most common methods, void start and void update. So start will run only once and update will run continuously like a loop. So we are going to write our code without the start and the update. We are going to remove pretty much all of it. And here we are going to create our own methods. So we are going to create public methods. So we are going to write here public. If we write it public, then other scripts and other objects can access it. If we make it private, then it cannot be accessed from outside the script. So we want to, basically what we are doing is we are creating these methods that whenever we call this method, it will take us to a different page. So we will write here public void, let's say home page. Was the home page the first one or the setup? The startup, sorry, startup page. Let's say this is our method, and then we are going to create some brackets. And now let's go back a little bit. And now we are going to write our code inside of this. So to write the code here, we are going to add a new namespace. We are going to write here using Unity engine dot scene management. So basically this will allow us to load new scenes. So we will write here scene manager. So we are using this namespace. If we don't use this namespace, we will not see the scene manager. So if I remove this, you will see the scene manager is not recognizable. So we need this namespace. So now we will write scene manager dot load scene, and we are going to load the scene that is called starts up page. So you can give the index number. So let me show where that is. So if you go to file, build settings, you will see that you have this page startup. By the way, we need to add all the pages. So we need to go to the home page, and then we need to go to the chapters. So these are the 3 pages that we have so far, or the scenes. So this is start up page, this is home page, and this is chapter 1. So we can close this and we can go back to our script. So here we will call this startup page. Now we will copy this and we will paste, and then we will paste again. So here we will say that this is home page, and we will call this as chapter 1. And we will copy this and paste here, and we will copy this and paste here. So now we will save this, and this is a very basic code that we have written. It will just open up a new scene for us. So now we need to link this to a button. So whenever we press that button, this should happen. So let's go back to our Unity editor, and here we are going to go, let's say, to our startup page. Now here, first of all, we are going to link our start button to our menu page or the home page. So here we are going to create a new empty object, and we will call this manager. So manager is an object in which we will add any script that we don't want to attach to any other object. So for example, if I create a script to change color of this logo again and again after every 1 second, so I can write that code, for example, color changer, and then I can attach that script to this image. And what it will do is it will keep changing the color of this particular object. But in this case, we are not linking it to any object. So we are going to create a generic manager, and that will have this script. So in every page that we create, there will be a manager, and in that manager, we will have this script page navigation. So to link it, I can simply drag it in my manager, or I can drag it in like this. So this will add the script to it. And now what I can do is I can go to my button. I can go to my button here, and inside that, on click, I am going to add this method. So what I will do is I will drag my manager, because this manager now has all the navigation script. So I can drag that object here, and I will go to the function. By the way, function, method, pretty much the same thing. Don't worry about that. So we will go here, and we will go to page navigation, and then we will simply click on homepage. That's it. So if I run this now, and if I click on start, it will take me to the homepage. And that's how simple it is. So the same thing will happen in our homepage. So I will save this. And in the homepage, I am going to create a manager. And I am going to attach my script. So I can add a component, and I can write here page navigation, and I can add it like this. Then here I need to link, first of all, my back button. So I will go to the back button, and I will add, and then I will add the objects that I want to make the changes from, and then page navigation, and I will go to the startup page. This will take me back to the startup page. And then I can go to, for example, my chapter number 1, and I can add, then I will go to the manager, and then I will say page navigation chapter number 1. So that is how simple this is. So if I run this, should I run it? Or let's go to the chapter 1 as well. I will save this, and I will go to chapter number 1. And over there, I will attach, again, I will create a new manager. And I will attach the page navigation. I will go to the canvas, the back button, and what else? We also need to attach it to the next button. So I will take both of the buttons. I will add for both of them, and I will drag the manager. But then for the function, for one of them, I will go to the home page, and for the other one, I am going to go to, what is the next one? Chapter 2. So we haven't added chapter 2. So later when we add, we can attach it. So what we can do is we can go to our script, and we can keep adding more of these chapters. So for now, we are going to add chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 4, 5, 6, and 7. And later on, when we add more, we can change these as well. So I will copy and paste. So we have to make sure when we are creating the chapters, we name them the same. Otherwise, it will not open up. So now that this is done, we can see here that we have our chapters ready. And let's go to the startup page, and we will try it from there. So we will go all the way around, and we will come back. So let's go to the starts. We see the chapters, all good. We can click on back. It will take us back. We can press start again. We can click on image capture. It takes us here. Next will not work because there is no chapter 2. And then we can click on this, and it will take us back to the home page. So this is great, and it works well. So now we are going to build it to our Android and see how it works. Now to enable developer mode, you have to first of all go to your settings in Android, and then you are going to search for build number. So you can write build or build number, and once it searches, you will click on that and it will show you your build number, and you have to tap it several times, and you can see it says developer mode already has been enabled or turned on. So for you, when you click it several times, it will turn on your developer mode. So after you have enabled your build number and you have tapped it several times, you will go to File, you will go to Build Settings, and here you will make sure all 3 pages are there that we have created, and then we are on Android, and then we can simply click on Build and Run. So it will ask us to name the APK, so we can call it CV_app. So now it will upload to our Android device. So now we can see the result here, and we can click on Start, and that takes us to the home page, and we can scroll, and you can see that we have that gap here, and all of this looks good. I can click on image capture and it takes us to chapter number 1. I can go back and it takes me back here, and I can go back again and it takes me to the home page or the startup page. So that looks good, and now we can move on to chapter number 1, where we actually create and fill up this image. So now we are ready to start writing the code for OpenCV to load our image. So that will be our first task. Now, before we go there, I want to explain how it works at the backend. So it is a little bit different than if you have used it in, let's say, Python or C++. So it will be a little bit different. So what happens is that you have your folder. So this is your folder in which you have the images. So this is called the resources folder. The spellings of resources have to be exactly the same, otherwise it will not work. So there is a default folder that is available in any Unity game that is called resources. So we have to make sure it is the same, and then it will have these images inside. And what we have to do is, in the script, we are going to create a Unity texture. Here I have written the spelling wrong. I should change that. But the idea is that the texture here is based on Unity platform. It has its own convention. Then we have to change that convention to OpenCV matte. So matte is the convention of handling images using OpenCV. So once we convert that, then we can write any code that we want specific to OpenCV. We can change the color, we can change it to grayscale, we can find objects, we can find color. Whatever we want to do, we can do it in that OpenCV space. And then once we are done with our code, once we are done with the processing, then we need to convert that matte, the OpenCV matte, back to Unity texture. And then we can send it to our image, the raw image that we have used. So this is very important because in every code, we are going to do this. We are going to create the Unity texture, then we will create the OpenCV matte, and then we will write our mumbo jumbo code. And then at the end, we are going to convert it back to Unity texture and send it to our display. So let's see how we can do that. So first of all, we are going to go to our chapters. We are going to open up chapter number 1. So here you can see our chapter, and as you know, we have created a raw image that we will use to display our image. So here in chapter 1, we are going to create a new script, and we are going to call it chapter 1 script. Let's say chapter 1 script. We are going to double click to open it up. And there you go. So this is our chapter number 1 script that we are going to use to write our code. So the first thing we need is our Unity engine UI. So our raw image, so if I write here, let's say if I write here raw image, it is not detected. This class is not detected because it is available in Unity engine UI. So we need to write here using Unity engine dot UI. Then if I write here raw image, then it is accepted, it is detected. So what we will do is, okay, let's declare the rest of them first. So we need some OpenCV functions, right? So we need those methods. So we are going to use all the namespaces that we have, the basic ones that are absolutely required. So the first one will be OpenCV for Unity.core module. And the second one is OpenCV for Unity.UnityUtilis. And then using OpenCV Unity.image processing module. Image processing, not image codecs. So the thing is that these two are absolutely required. And then this one is not required for chapter number 1, but for pretty much every other chapter, it will be required. So I'm putting this as a default. So you don't have to write it again and again. So what we can do is we can separate the ones that we have introduced, and these are the ones that are default available. So now we are going to write our code. So first of all, we need to create a public raw image. So we are going to write here public raw image, and we will call it image display. So this image is basically the one in which we will send our texture to. So this image is the image over here. So this white one, what did I move? This one. So this is the raw image that we are talking about. So then we are going to, in the start function, we are going to write everything because we are not dealing with loops. We are just dealing with an image. So the first thing we have to do is we have to load our image. So we will create that texture 2D, and we will call it input texture. Let's say input texture. And we will call, we will say resources dot load, and then we will say test. So we need to close that. And then we will say that we want to load it as texture 2D. So there you go. So this line basically all it does is it declares this variable as an input texture, and it loads this image. So this image is basically present if we go to our course. If we go to graphics, we have the resources, and in the resources we have the test image. So one more thing that we need to do to make sure this runs, we have to click all of these images. We have to click all of these images. We have to go to the inspector. Why is the inspector not showing? Okay, we need to close this. So this is our inspector, and we need to make sure that they are read and write enabled. Because we are reading and writing the files, we need to make sure it is enabled. Otherwise, it will not work. So we can hit apply. Now we can go back to our code. And in the code, we are going to create the matte. So far, we have created the Unity texture 2D. Now we are going to create the matte. So this will be an empty mat. It is not like Python that you can simply use the image in the same statement, but we are going to declare it first. So we are going to call it mat image is equals to new mat. So mat is the format in which we use images in OpenCV. So we will write here, if you have done OpenCV C++ course, then you might be familiar with this. If you haven't done it, you can check it out. I have a free course on OpenCV C++ on YouTube or on my website. You can check it there. So here we will write input texture. This is the one that we declared, dot height, and then input texture dot width, and then we are going to declare the type. So as you can see here, we have the rows, we have the columns, and then we have the type. So inside the matrix, there are values. So they are asking, what kind of values are you storing? Are they float? Are they integer? What kind of values are they? So we will say that we have a CV type. So I think C is capital, then V, and then type, yes, dot CV underscore 8U, and then C4. Now you might be wondering, wait, what is that? That looks so weird. CV8U C4. Did you miss any letters? Maybe ABC? Anyways, so this basically means that this value is 8 bits. 8 bits means it can go from 0 to 255. So bits are basically 2 to the power of something. So 2 to the power of 8 means 256 values. And 256 values, if you start from 0 and not 1, then you get 0 to 255. So my color range, let's say if it is black, it will be 0. If it's white, it will be 255. So this is what 8 bits mean. And then U means unsigned. So unsigned is 0 to 255, and signed is from minus 127 to 127. So this is signed and this is unsigned. So that is the idea. And then we have channels as 4. So these are 4 channels. Your channels are RGBA. So these are the 4 channels. So RGB, and then A is the alpha, which is the transparency. So this is our convention. And then we are going to, let's write it down here as well, that this is, we are creating, let's say create an empty mat. Okay, so these are the 2 steps that we have done, but we didn't convert it. Now we need to convert the texture to mat. So we will, because right now this mat is empty. So we need to write here, convert texture to mat. And now we can write here utilis dot texture 2D to mat, and then input texture, and then image. So this is our basic idea. So that first we load the image, then we create an empty mat that is exactly the same size as the input texture, and then we convert that texture to mat image. So this is our first part. Now here will be our mumbo jumbo code. So this is the part where we will have all our code. Okay, so let's put another one, and let's put here inside that this is our own code. I need to close the inserts. Okay, so here we will write our code, and then at the bottom we need to convert it back again. So we will copy this part and we will paste it here, but this time around it will not be input, it will be output texture, and then we are going to create a new texture. So that texture will be new texture 2D, and we will call it image.columns. and then image.rows. So this is the size that we want it to be. We need to add the brackets. And what else? Then we need to give it the format again. So what is the format? So the format here is basically texture format dot RGBA and then 32. So this is the equivalent format that we used over here. So this is the Unity one. And then we are going to write false. So it's getting quite long. I can reduce the size here. So this is how it looks like. So here we are creating an empty texture. Create new texture. 2D texture. Okay. So then we need to convert our matte into this new texture. So we will write here utilis dot matte to texture 2D, and we will have our image, and then the next thing will be our output texture. So that is the basic idea. So if I zoom in, you can see it better. So utilis dot matte to texture 2D, and this basically completes our second part. So first we converted the texture to matte, then our code, then matte back to texture. Now this texture we need to send to our image. So we need to attach this to our raw image. So here we are going to write that image display. So let me go back actually. So here you can see this is our image display. So we are talking about this now. So image display dot texture is equals to output texture, and that's it. So this is how we link it. So I can write here, let's say converts texture to matte. No, matte to texture. Matte to texture. And then we are going to send, or let's say display the texture on the raw image. So this is our main idea. So what else? What else can we do? So this is good now, but the problem is this is just a name, raw image. We haven't actually linked it to our actual image over here. This is just a random variable. So how can we link it? Now this is the beauty of Unity. We can save this and we can come back here. And if you remember, we have managers for all the chapters. So we will click on our manager and we will add our chapter 1 script. So we will write here chapter 1 script. And now you can see that there is an empty space for image. We will just take our raw image and we will drag it in our raw image. And that's it. That's how you link this public object over here. Now, if I go back, you will see here that if I don't write public here and I save it, this will disappear. So in order to make it work, you have to write public. So here I am going to write public and I will save it. And then when I go back, it takes a little bit while. It takes a while to load. So, and there you go. So now we have the raw image and it's already linked because we linked it earlier. So let's try it out and see if it works or not. Let's run this. And there we have it. That is very rare that it works on the first try. So we are off to a very good start. Excellent. I hope that it worked for you as well. And now you can see that we have displayed an image. If we wanted to, we can change the image as well. Let's say we will go back and we will write here shapes. shapes. And if I go back here, and if I run it, there you go. So now I can see the shapes image instead of my own image. So this was basically chapter number 1, where we learned how to import the image. The main idea you have to understand is that you have to convert the Unity texture to OpenCV matte, then do all your coding, then convert the matte into texture and send it to your image. It is a little bit complicated, but once you get hang of it, then it will be very easy. It's like a template. It's like boilerplate that you are using again and again.